is up, guys? It is time for yet another tier list video. I am your host, BC Kane, and let me tell you, I love Mario Kart, right? I love Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I love Double Dash, I love DS, I just love Mario Kart, right? But there is a game out there that I think is on par with some of the best Mario Kart games, and that game is Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. It was released like early 2010s, I think. I got it on the Wii U. And the reason why I love it so much is because I personally feel that the tracks are on par with some of the best Mario Kart tracks of all time. The tracks in this game, a lot of them are pretty damn amazing and insane and creative. So I thought I would do a tier list ranking every single track in Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. So with that said, let's get going. So to start, we have Ocean View, which is actually based on Sonic Heroes, which I played not too long ago. I didn't play any like major Sonic games at this point in time when I first played this game, but I played Sonic Heroes, so I know what this track looks like. And it's a fairly basic track. It's your, your intro to the game. It's got a cool vibe to it. It's kind of like this little like beach setting. There's this tentacle monster that you can see that you drive around at one point in the water. But nothing really too mind-blowing here. You do get your first taste of the water transforming, where you're going from land to sea, and then you got your boat transforming. So that's cool and all. But I think compared to the other tracks coming up, this one is on the basic side. So for that reason, I'd probably put it at a C. There are some cool like loop-de-loop sections, and again some cool water sections in there. But as far as like comparing this track to other like insane tracks coming up, it does fall a bit short in that case. So pretty basic C tier for me, but it's a really good starter track. Does a great job of showing you like what the game's going to be like and what the track designs are going to be like, and you get your first look into water boat transforming and whatnot. But yeah, we're just getting started. There's some insane shit coming up, but for right now, I'm going to rank Ocean View at a very solid C tier. So there's a side of me that wants to rank this track a little bit higher, like maybe A tier. We got Samba Studios, which is from Samba de Amigo, of course. It's pretty much like driving through like a Hollywood movie setting sort of thing. You're like going through a theater and you got a bunch of props all dancing around and whatnot. You got a cool songs you can hear in the background. But yeah, I do love the whole Hollywood aesthetic. You got these bouncy houses that are like bouncing up and down. It's got a great song, as I just mentioned. There's a cool little like lava space section with UFOs. That's kind of cool. You're driving through the lava, or I guess whatever you call it. It's like orange water. It's not really lava, but it's kind of, maybe it is. I don't know. It's been forever. Like, cut me some slack. The one thing I will say is that every lap is the same. So for that reason, I can't really put it higher than B tier. But I do like this track a lot. But the tracks I have in S and A tier, the reason why they're there is because every lap feels so different, because they change up how you move around the track and whatnot. Meanwhile, this one, while it's cool and all, it's got a good vibe and good, dance flow to it, every lap is the same. Like, you don't really do anything that different. There's a cool little water river section, that's neat and all. The space section's cool, but, yeah, this track is really good, but again, we got some insane shit coming up, so for that reason, it's gotta be no higher than a B tier. On a similar note, right, this track, called Carrier Zone, has you flying through a literal, like, ocean battlefield with, like, warships and planes and cannons going off and bombs being, like, chucked in the water. It is a pretty damn cool setting. I love driving across all the ships. I love flying through, like, all the battlefield action going on. You're driving across, like, other types of vehicles and whatnot. There's cool water areas. But I will say it is pretty similar to Samba Studios in that every lap is the same. Nothing really changes. But I love this setting. It's really, really damn cool. Personally, I kind of like the flow better in Samba Studios than Carrier Zone. So I would personally put Carrier Zone right below Samba Studios at a B tier, but they're both really solid tracks. Again, the reason, I will say right now, the reason why some tracks are in B tier that are really, really good tracks is just because the S and A tier get pretty fucking insane. I'm telling you right now, they are pretty damn good. But yeah, I love Carrier Zone. I love the setting. I love driving through the battlefield and whatnot, and driving across ships. So for that reason, I will still put it at a B tier. Now we're getting the taste of what every driving phase feels like. You get driving, water, and flying with Dragon Canyon based on Panzer Dragoon. To start, you're driving through this little, like, canyon area, and you got this dragon, like, just flapping its wings right next to you. Then you got a cool water section after that. You got a cool section where you fly right behind the dragon as it's, like, flying through the canyon. That is pretty damn cool. So yeah, I do feel like this one's a good step above Samba and Carrier Zone because every lap does feel different. You're not doing the same thing over and over and over again like these other tracks are. So for that reason, I would rank Dragon Canyon like maybe low A tier because it's a good setting. You know, it's a good like canyon setting. It's, you know, dragon based, always fun to see in racing games. And again, every lap feels different. You're driving for lap 1, then you go in the water in lap 2, I think, and then in lap 3, you got that flying bit where you're flying right behind the dragon as it's flying through the canyon. So, pretty damn cool stuff. Oh, plus the water section, the bridge is like collapsing above you, and you gotta like dodge the pillars that are breaking in front of you. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, I would say Dragon Canyon is the highest one so far, but let me tell you, it will not hold that spot for very long because there is some insane shit coming up. I am so happy I finally got to play the Monkey Ball series starting last year. I played Monkey Ball 1 and 2, I played Adventure, didn't like that game. But I love the Monkey Ball franchise, and this track, Temple Trouble, is based on the Monkey Ball franchise. You're going through temples, you're going down like this little Monkey Ball-esque level, down the slide and whatnot, as these monkey balls are like diving onto the track at you. Pretty damn cool. However, again, similar to Samba and Carrier Zone, every lap is the same, right? Nothing really changes between laps. There's a cool water, like, whirlpool section near the end. And again, the monkey balls, like, dive into the water at one point, and they cause, like, ripples you can drive across. But yeah, nothing too mind-blowing. You also don't have any flying sections here. I kind of was hoping there'd be a flying part where you're driving through, or where you're flying, like, as monkey balls are, like, diving, like, over you or under you or whatnot. That would've been kind of cool. So for that reason, honestly, I would probably put this at, like, maybe just above Ocean View in, like, a high C tier. Again, not a bad track. Like I said, the reason why a lot in B and C are there is because the S and A tracks are, like, near insane, especially the S tracks coming up. So, but yeah, I love Temple Trouble. It's got a good song playing, it's got a good flow to it, good track design, but compared to other ones coming up, it's got to be no higher than C. But still a really good Monkey Ball track that is a lot of fun. So there you go, C tier. When I said insane shit was coming up, I meant it. Because ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our first S tier track on this list. Galactic Parade. Imagine a carnival, right? Imagine a carnival, right? You guys go to carnivals probably often in your lifetime, I don't know. Now imagine that same carnival in space with like a bunch of neon lights and whatnot. Yep, that is what this track is, and it is freaking phenomenal. Like, this track is bursting with fun, creativity, colors, and neon lights. It is just an insane freaking experience. You got, you know, it's in space, you got asteroids floating around. The road also forms as you drive on it too. Like, when you're like driving through space, the road actually is not fully formed in front of you. It forms as you get closer to it, which is kind of cool. There's that one section where you got like the little 2 robots shooting lasers at you while you're driving. That's kind of cool. But my favorite section by far, which isn't really like, you know, the most mind-blowing thing, but it does remind me a lot of Star Wars, is the flying section where you're driving literally through asteroids. Like, you're driving through the asteroid belt. Like, you can't really top that in my opinion, but this track is just, whoo, it's so good. It is just bursting with fun. It is like, this, here's the thing, right? If my this is not my favorite track in the game, it's up there. If my #1 track, which we'll get to here in a bit, did not exist or wasn't as good, this would be my #1 for sure. I adore Galactic Parade. It is like insanely creative. I love the space setting. I love just the carnival setting. So easy S tier. So one of my dreams in life is to go to Japan, right? I want to go to Japan so badly. And this track, Seasonal Shrines, based on the Shinobi franchise, is kind of as close as I'm gonna get, probably. Because this track is literally Japan in a fucking nutshell. You're driving through cherry blossom trees and pagodas and temples and, you know, Japanese architecture. It's got a cool vibing song in the background. And also, it's called Seasonal Shrines for a reason, because every lap is a different season. So, this track may have inspired the Animal Crossing track in Mario Kart 8. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. But that alone puts it at least a B tier for me, but I can't really put it above B. I would say, you know what? I kind of like the other two better. I would probably put it like maybe lowest to B right now. It's still a good track. Again, I love the setting. I love the whole Japanese temple-like setting. You got that one water section too, I think, where you're driving through the water cave with the statues, like little Buddha statues. That's kind of cool as well. But yeah, the whole, sorry, stuttering. The whole gimmick of seasonal changing really does kind of elevate this track, but I don't really think it's quite above the other ones I have in B tier so far, but I still love Seasonal Shrines. So there you go, easy B tier. I think out of every track in this list, this might be one that's like very, very underrated. We got Rogue's Landing. So this one is kind of like a portside village setting where it's like a water, like it's like a village on like the edge of a ocean, right? Like you got ports and whatnot. You got cool looking villages and windmills and whatnot. So yeah, it's a pretty good track. There is one point in lap 3 where you're driving like behind this like blue airship, I think, and you have to follow it. That's kind of cool. But yeah, I adore the setting. I love the whole like driving through villages. You're like flying over all the houses and whatnot at one point. But it's not really screaming like super duper creative. I would probably say I could maybe put this like maybe lowest of B, but probably no higher than that. Because again, it is above Temple Trouble and Ocean View in that every lap is different enough to stand out, I think. But that lap 3 really is my favorite part, where you're driving behind that blue airship and you got like, you know, stuff all around you. So I could see maybe it being right here in the future if I get down the list further, but right now we'll put it at a low B tier because it is a really solid track, but that's where we'll put it for now.
Have you ever had a dream that you
I don't know who put that in there, but anyway, we got Dream Valley. S tier has returned, ladies and gentlemen. This track is yet again one of the most mind-blowing tracks in the entire game. It is literally called Dream Valley for a reason. You're kinda driving through dreams. You start in this like gravity, like Mario Galaxy-esque setting where you're flying through it and you got like a bunch of like, it's kind of like Mario Galaxy and Avatar, kind of, where you got like floating structures on like this little planet with grass and whatnot. But then you get to the parts where you warp through the portals, right? Oh man, that's where this track really, really shines for me. So in lap 1, it's like a floral kind of space setting where it's like this fauna and whatnot that's like all colorful and you got monsters flying around. Lap 2 is also pretty cool where you got like a, how do you describe it? It's like a museum bedroom sort of setting where you're flying through like walls and structures and shelves and whatnot. The third lap though is my favorite, where you got the wizard that follows you and it's like throwing rocks at you and making noises and whatnot. So yeah, this track's great, easy S tier. I wouldn't put it above Galactic Parade. It's like slightly below it, but another easy S tier. Like any track that feels like a dream and is called Dream something is like instantly S tier because they always nail it for the most part in games that I play that are racing games. So yeah, Dream Valley, another easy S tier. Now we have one that people might love a bit too much in my opinion. We have Chili Castle based on the Billy Hatcher franchise. It's a cool snow setting, right? It's a cool like snow castle, Christmassy sort of setting. So that's cool. It is one of those tracks yet again where every lap is the same, nothing really changes. There is a cool water section where you're driving through well, like a crystal ice cave sorta. Like it's like ice with crystals, like these little colorful crystals all around. But there's nothing really that stands out with this one. So for that reason, I'd honestly put this at the lowest of C tier. It's still a good track. I still have fun racing on it, but it's not gonna be a track you race on and you'll be like, oh wow, that was like super mind-blowing. I really, really, really love that one. You kind of won't. There's nothing here that's gonna really make your brain pop and whatnot, or make your eyes pop. So yeah, good track, but kind of lacking in uniqueness and creativity and really mind-blowing track design. So for that reason, it's got to be lowest of C for now. Now, here's one I know that people love. We have Graffiti City, based on the Jet Set Radio franchise. This track, to me, is like if Sonic Adventure 2 and Need for Speed had a baby, right? Like, if you combine the city courses from Sonic Adventure and then, like, pretty much any Need for Speed course and, like, mash them together and make them have sex and whatnot, this is the track you get, in my opinion. It is, like, such a great city track. I wouldn't put it at S tier. I know some might put it, like, maybe right here or even right here. I'm gonna put it right here. But yeah, you're, like, driving across buildings and roofs, and the whole city is under construction. That's kind of cool. It's got a nice beat music to it in the background. Oh, also, lap 3, man. Lap 3 is so good. You're, like, flying behind a helicopter at one point. Like, pretty much every part of this track really does feel fun to race on, you know. Again, you're driving across roofs, you're driving through buildings, you're driving under buildings, you're driving around buildings. Like, you're legit driving in a city construction zone, and it's amazing. Like, every part of the track feels just fun to race on, in my opinion. So yeah, I wouldn't quite put it at S tier, but it's definitely the highest of A tier for now. Man, you want to talk about atmospheric track? You look at this track right here, Sanctuary Falls, based on, I believe, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I think it's what this track is based on, but anyway. So you start off with flying, right, which a lot of tracks don't do. You are flying through these kind of ruins, like flying sky ruins, kinda. This track kind of reminds me of City in the Sky from Twilight Princess, one of my favorite dungeons of all time. Sorry, like if you took City in the Sky from Twilight Princess and put it in this game as a racing track, that's what you get. You get Sanctuary Falls. Like, this track just screams atmosphere. It's got a whole bunch of background elements, really good music in the background. You see the Death Egg robot in the background at one point. I think you fly around for most of it, if I remember correctly, but there is a cool driving section where you're driving, like, down or up one of the pillars that you would fly around normally. The colors here just pop as well. Like, this track is just so pretty to look at. Like, if you're a first-time player, right, and you race on this track, I guarantee you will have a hard time not looking at it. Well, you're racing, so you have to look at it, but I'm talking, like, if you're trying to, like, you know, see the background stuff, you'll have a hard time, like, not wanting to look at it, because it's so fucking pretty. Like, whoo, it's so good. So yeah, if you guys can't tell, easy S tier. I would say probably just above Dream Valley in that case, but I think Parade is still the one to beat for me, and may not be topped. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I love Sanctuary Falls, one of the best tracks in the game. Definitely the most atmospheric one too, in my opinion, in terms of, like, background elements. But yeah, easy S tier for Sanctuary Falls. So you know how a lot of spooky stuff in games is, like, meant to be spooky and not, like, comedy-esque? Well, I feel like this one, Graveyard Gig, is the perfect balance of spooky and just fun and kind of a bit of comedy. So this track is kind of like a Haunted Mansion sort of track. Like, you start outside, right? You drive through the mansion, you got, like, these monsters, like, all around the track and whatnot. You see at one point, like, I think it's on lap 1, you drive around this, like, monster that's in a bouncy castle, just jumping up and down, having a great time. Oh, it's so good. There's also, I believe, a giant spider, right? It's like Mario Kart 8's giant rock Bowser in Bowser's Castle, but it's a giant spider. And it, like, poops out babies or something. That's kind of cool, I guess. You drive through the sewers at one point in that water section. That was kind of cool. You got these little, like, coils in that one section that try to shock you. The third lap, though, let me tell you about the third lap, man. The third lap, you drive down into a cellar. Didn't expect that. It's like a wine cellar or something, if you've seen, you know, wine cellars in movies and such. But then you get out of the cellar, right? And what do you see? You see a concert going on with monsters. There are monsters putting on a concert as you get out. It is silly, but it's so damn cool. So again, this track, also there's a graveyard, because it's called Graveyard Gig for a reason. I think it's at the end of lap 3, you drive through a graveyard before you get to the finish line. But anyway, again, this track is just the perfect blend of scary and fun and kind of comedy. So for that reason, it's gotta be an S tier, man. I would say it's not quite above the other 3, but it earned S tier for just its theme alone and how well it blended the spooky and funny aspects of this track. So yeah, easy S tier for Graveyard Gig. Now we have one that I think people love a bit too much. We have Adder's Lair, which is kind of the lava track that a lot of tracks have, like Mario Kart has Bowser's Castle, obviously. This one kind of feels like this game's Bowser's Castle. It's not quite as good as Bowser's Castle tracks, though, for a number of reasons. You do drive through lava a lot, which is cool. Instead of just water, it's lava. That's kind of neat. You're flying through this lava cave at one point. You drive through, like, a snake statue, I believe. You, like, go into the head. That's kind of cool. But a lot of this track, to me, does kind of feel like you're doing the same thing for a lot of it. Just driving across lava and through lava caves and whatnot. So there's not really, to me, a whole lot of uniqueness going on here. Like, the setting is cool. The atmosphere feels good, but in terms of what you're actually racing on and through, it does feel very, very samey for the majority of the track. I mean, every lap, I think, is the same, which doesn't really help it. So for that reason, I'd probably put Adder's Lair, like, maybe mid-C tier. I would say probably, like, maybe here. Because I think Temple Trouble does do some samey stuff as well, but the atmosphere in Temple Trouble, to me, was better than this one, and it was just a more fun track to race on. Plus, that water section kind of elevates it above Adder's Lair, but I still like Adder's Lair. But if I were to rank this track compared to, like, Mario Kart's Bowser Castle tracks, I'd probably put a lot of the Bowser Castle tracks above Adder's Lair, because a lot of the Bowser Castle tracks in Mario Kart do a lot more to stand out than this one did to its other tracks in the game. So, yeah, Adder's Lair, unfortunately, is a mid-C tier. Now we're on to Burning Depths, and this one, I love the whole theme here. So basically, it is like an aquarium slash laboratory that's falling apart, and like stuff is breaking and whatnot, and you're driving through water and machines, and you see the aftermath of what's going on. Like, you see fire on the track, and you see machines like short-circuiting. It is such a cool track. You're driving around submarines at one point. And again, the place is just being destroyed as you're racing on it. Like, stuff is on fire, stuff's exploding, stuff is, again, short-circuiting. So you're legit trying to kind of escape the lab before it collapses on you. So that's a cool theme. So yeah, I would say, honestly, and again, every track is different because I think, if I remember correctly, the water rises between each lap. Like, you start when the water's, like, not super high, and then as the leaks happen, the water kind of rises as you go on the track. And then lap 2 and 3, I think, start with you at, like, a higher water level. So yeah, for that reason, honestly, I would probably say Burning Depths, to me, is, like, maybe low A tier. Maybe right here? I'm gonna go with this one. I think here's a better spot for it. I think Dragon Canyon has a lot more uniqueness in terms of, like, how every lap functions versus this one. But they're both amazing. They're both, like, easy A tier tracks. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably put Dragon Canyon just slightly above it. But Burning Depths is great. I love it. A great setting, great theme, great, you know, action going on here with the aquarium collapsing. So, easy A tier. And now we have finally hit my #1 favorite track in the entire game. I think a lot of people kind of agree with me on this one. We have Race of Ages, which is a track that's not really based on other Sonic games, but it's like a original track from this game. And man, they nailed it, because this track has such a cool feel to it. It's like if you were to go inside of your PC, right, and like shrink down and then make your PC a racetrack, that's kind of what this track is. It's like a whole like network vibe to it, right? It's got like holograms and technology in the background and a bunch of red and blue and black. It's so goddamn good. And the song too. Best song of the game, probably. I adore this, the song that plays for Race of Ages. It's got a futuristic setting, a lot of twists and turns. It's like a roller coaster at some points. There is a hidden water section, I believe, too, in lap 3, where you can drive like up ramps and whatnot. So that's kind of cool. Oh, dude, the flying section in this one, woo, it's so good. Like, you're driving through, like, laser grid walls and these, like, spinning gears with holes in them. Like, that part alone puts that S tier, and it's my favorite track in the game. Like, oh, man. This track, for me, is the one track I will never get tired of playing in this game. Race of Ages is a freaking banger. If you have ever wanted to race inside of like a network PC sort of setting, this track is for you, because this hits it to a T, in my opinion. So, Race of Ages is my favorite track in the game, easy S+ tier, and yeah, there you go. Amazing track. So now these next few tracks are going to be tracks that are actually in the first Sonic racing game, being Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, I believe. It was on, like, consoles and handhelds. I had it on the DS, I believe. But anyway, so yeah, these 4 tracks are kind of like what Mario Kart would call the retro tracks, right? Where they're brought back from other games. So first we have Sunshine Tour, which is another Samba de Amigo track like Samba Studios. Honestly, I feel like this one and Samba Studios are kind of similar in terms of how they feel and what you get to do in them. Again, it's kind of like a Hollywood sort of setting where you got like bouncing houses, you got movie props, you're driving through like a concert hall at some point, or not like a concert, it's like a hallway with like music playing or whatnot. It's kind of like when you go into a carnival and you got like that one tent or something, if that makes sense. But yeah, honestly, I would probably say Sunshine Tour is not quite as good as Samba Studios, but I do love that one bit where you're driving through the little areas with the giant characters dancing at you. That's kind of cool. But yeah, and again, because these tracks aren't they're brought back from other games. They don't utilize this game's like whole gimmick where every lap feels different for some tracks, so that's kind of dragged down a little bit. But yeah, I still love Sunshine Tour, another great track. I can see people doing this and putting Samba Studios below this one, but I'd probably prefer Samba Studios. But both tracks are great. They both kind of feel the same in my opinion. They're both easy B-tier tracks. So I'm not sure of the general consensus on Shibuya Downtown from the first Sonic racing game. But I've played it a bunch, and I've never really vibed with it. Like, I mean, it's just a normal, like, Need for Speed sort of downtown track you would find in like Need for Speed Underground or something, or Burnout even to an extent, but there's just not really a lot going on here. It's another like city construction site similar to Graffiti City, but you know, nothing too mind-blowing. The song's good, right? I mean, the song is good, but I don't know, I'm not really feeling this one. So honestly, people might call us a hot take, I don't know. This is gonna go lowest of C tier for me. Like, this might be my least favorite track in the entire game. Not because I hate it, but because it didn't, like, blow my mind like a lot of these tracks did. So, I gotta put it there. Again, it's a solid town track. It's got the whole Japanese Shibuya setting. That's cool and all, but, you know, nothing here is gonna make you, like, go, wow, what was that, or whatnot. So, yeah. Sorry, Shibuya Downtown. You're a good track, but you're the lowest of C tier. Now we have one of my favorite tracks from the first Sonic race game, which I did play as well, which is Roulette Road, which is also from Sonic Heroes, a game I've now played. So I recognize this setting, being Casino Park from that game, I think, right? So there you go. But yeah, this track is just creative as hell. I love the whole casino setting. I love the roulettes. I love driving across the roulette wheels and the poker chips and the cards and just a bunch of twists and turns and fun. Like, it's an easy A tier for me. I would say probably, because again, every lap is not different. It's the same every time because it's from the original Sonic racing game. But I would say for sure it's at least lowest of A, because again, like, you can't really beat a casino racetrack. You know, you got roulette wheels, you got poker chips, poker cards, poker tables, wheels, and just, you know, if you've been to a casino before, right? Like, if you can imagine what's in a casino, it's probably on this track. I don't know, but it is just fun to race on, so yeah, there we go. And again, a good song too, so easy A tier for Roulette Road. You guys know I love Star Wars, right? I adore Star Wars these days, and this track kinda reminds me of that, being Egg Hangar. So, pretty much this track is if they put the Death Star from Star Wars into a Sonic racing game, because this legit feels like you are driving inside of the Death Star. You got a bunch of robots doing stuff. You got a bunch of machines all over the place. You're exposed to space because there's like a giant door that shows you the Earth, and it's cool and all. I do feel like this one maybe could have been more than what it was at some points. I'm gonna go high B tier because I kind of can't see this track in the same league as my A tier or S tier tracks. It's a great track, don't get me wrong. I love the feel of this track. I love that it feels like the Star Wars Death Star, as I mentioned. But, I don't know. I think this track could have used a bit more bells and whistles to it, if you get what I mean. Like, a lot more uniqueness to it, if that makes sense. Like, a lot more that's, like, you know, unexpected. Because it does, you know, it feels a tad basic in some parts of it, but, you know, I can't ignore, like, the whole setting and the whole vibe of this track. So, I'll put it high B tier, but again, if you love Star Wars, you will love Egg Hangar. Just saying right now, but I'll put it at a high B tier. So the last track we have is, I believe, a DLC track that was in, I think, only certain parts, or not certain parts, certain editions of this game, being OutRun Bay. Now, you might see that little icon here, right? And you guys might think, oh, great, it's got palm trees and a beach and a bunch of skyscrapers. It's kind of like Florida, right? He'll have some bias towards this one. I kind of do, a little bit, but let me assure you, I'm not putting this track in S or A. I'm not doing that. I will put it at, like, maybe low B tier. Like, maybe low B. Because, again, every lap is the same, like the other tracks. But, I mean, come on. You can't really ignore the Miami sort of Florida setting here with the beaches and the water and the boats all around. So, this track to me feels like home, right? Like, I'm a Floridian. I live in Florida. I've been to Miami, I believe, before. So, if I was to go to Miami and, like, turn it into a Sonic racing track, it would be OutRun Bay. Because, it, you know, it's kind of what I would imagine a Miami Sonic track looking like. So, yeah, nothing too mind-blowing. You're driving across the sand at one point. You drive through the water around these boats. You jump off of boats at some point. But yeah, I won't let my bias come through and say, oh, I love Florida tracks and I love Florida itself, so easy ARS, right? Nah, we're not doing that. So, I love OutRun Bay, but I'm not letting my bias rank it higher than it needs to be. So, we'll put it at a low B tier. It's still a good track. I adore it. It's a good one. And with that, we are done. Oh my good golly gracious, you guys. If anything, this tier list makes me want a new Sonic racing game that's not Team Sonic Racing, but this game. Give me a Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transform 2, or put it on Switch. How is it not on Switch yet? You've had how many years to do it? Like, give me back one of my favorite race games of all time. Like, I love this game to death. The tracks are all great. Look at this. Look at this list. Even my C tier tracks are good. That's how good this game is. Like, the C tier tracks are not the best, but they're good enough. So there you go. This game's tracks are amazing. So enough said. Anyway, what did you guys think? Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of this tier list, what you would change as always. And I guess I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, everybody.